Founder and president of the Schlesinger Studios is Mr. Leon Schlesinger, one of the foremost tycoons of the motion picture industry. We are privileged to view this busy executive deeply engrossed in the mighty problems of production.
Leon Schlesinger was not a cartoonist or a writer, and thank God he knew it. And that's why he left us to try out our own ideas. Now, if we'd been at Disney's, we couldn't have done that, you see.
Now we take you to the entrance of the studio, just in time to see a group of happy Schlesinger employees arriving for work and eager for a new day.
That's sure a lot of baloney. I don't know why I got it.
And here's a drawing that was made by one of the artists in the studio. As Tex and I left Leon's office and headed over for what became Termite Terrace. The first morning that Tex and I arrived, we sat in this funny, dilapidated little wooden building all by ourselves. We were all alone, but by noontime we decided that we weren't actually maybe alone. We thought maybe there might be thousands of little termites throughout the wood in the building. So right then and there we decided to call it Termite Terrace.
Now we skip to 5:30 and show you the same employees reluctantly leaving for home.
Termite Terrace was over the pass,
Miles away.
in Hollywood, at Warner Brothers' previous lot, where they had been. Where we're standing right now is in Burbank, and it became the central Warner Brothers facility.
So what's all the fuss about Termite Terrace?
I think it's a very catchy name. The only unit that was in there was Tex Avery's unit with Bob Clampett and Chuck Jones as animators, and that's the unit that produced Porky's Duck Hunt.
About a year later, Tex got the idea to do a cartoon called Porky's Duck Hunt. And so we wrote this story with all these crazy ducks in it. We eventually boiled it down to one duck. And Tex gave me the first scene of Daffy to animate, in which he said, make him exit funny. And I had him do the funny jumps and spins and so forth.
I got him. Go get the duck, Rin Jin Jin. That's it. Bring in the back. Bring in the back. That wasn't in the script. Don't let it worry you, Skipper. I'm just a crazy, darn fool duck.
They had this name Looney Tunes, but the pictures were not very loony until they did Porky's Duck Hunt. And I think that really started them on the way. Then that was the inspiration to do it, the whole damn thing again with a rabbit.
Don't let me worry you, Chief. I'm just a trifle pixelated. Look out! Oh, here I come! Sure glad to get rid of that dope. That's what you think.
And that eventually led to Bugs Bunny after a few
Bugs wasn't there.
trials and errors.
There was a weird rabbit leaping about.
There were two different rabbits that didn't work out. And then finally they hit on Bugs Bunny. He chewed on a carrot and said, "What's up, Doc?" And the house came down.
What's up, Doc? I'm hunting wabbits. It's wabbit season. Oh, wabbit season, huh? Having any luck? Well, no. As a matter of fact, I haven't even seen a wabbit yet. This is preposterous! Say, what's the matter with you anyway? Don't you even know a rabbit when you see one? It's true, Doc. I'm a rabbit, all right. Would you like to shoot me now or wait till you get home? Shoot him now! Shoot him now! You keep out of this. He doesn't have to shoot you now. He does so have to shoot me now. I demand that you shoot me now.
And what was the relationship between the the big feature films that were being shot here and the cartoons?
Well, the feature films that might use this whole western town, for instance, the westerns were part of everybody's main staple, and they had to keep cranking them out. Feature actors, the directors, all the guys would kind of poke their heads in the window, according to Bob Clampett, and kind of see how cartoons were done. So this is the lot where the features were made, and the Warner's cartoonists were very much part of this enormous, dream factory where all these things were turned out. The cartoons were considered secondary product, but they were part of the whole main package. It was Tex Avery who created Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny, who were really the star characters, and they remain the star characters through most of the studio's existence.
Chuck brought in Pepé, didn't he? Pepé Le Pew.
Chuck and Mike Maltese came up with Pepé Le Pew.
You got the cutest little baby face.
And the same team came up with the Roadrunner and the Coyote.
Meep, meep. Meep, meep.
And in Bob McKimpson cartoons, little Speedy Gonzales.
These pussycats trying to lure me with this cheese. Okay, pussycats, I am luring. Gracias, pussycats.
What about Sylvester?
Sylvester became common property, but really, Freleng used him in the Tweety cartoons. And Tweety and Sylvester were Friz Freleng characters. Yosemite Sam was a Friz Freleng character.
What? I paid my 4 bits to see the high diving act, and I'm going to see the high diving act.
For the money they spent, which was a fraction of what, say, Walt Disney would spend, they came up with some of the greatest characters and the greatest cartoons that have ever been made.
We tried to find Termite Terrace, where they made the original cartoons way back in the late 20s. But as far as we can gather, it seems to be a sign of the times. That's been flattened and turned into a car park. Los Angeles was all built in country, which was natural desert in the first instance. Typical Wile E. Coyote country. Before they started irrigating and turned it into this magical green oasis that it is today. But nowadays, people head off into the desert for a bit of fun and relaxation on the weekends. They go to places like Magic Mountain, which is a theme park with tons of Warner Brothers characters to enliven the day. Hey, Christoph!
It's funny, they pay their money. Shows what you can do if your horse can act. Hooray for Hollywood!
Open that bridge, varmint! Open it, I say! Close it up again! Okay, Rabbit, you forced me to use force.
And here's the man that created it, the legendary Friz Freleng. Can you remember that cartoon?
Oh, yes, I remember it. I remember when it was done, and I remember quite a bit of it because it won the Academy Award.
Did you think it was going to win that award?
No, we have no idea because Bugs had never won one. All the other characters have won the Academy Award, but Bugs. And this time he won. He was in the right spot at the right time.
Of course, Yosemite Sam was your creation, wasn't he?
Yes. And I thought about having the tiniest little guy I could create on the screen with the biggest voice. And I found that Mel Blanc could do the big voice, and I made him really scream, yell as loud as he could into the mic.
Yosemite Sam, toughest guy that ever shot a gumdrop. Now keep a moving.
All right, quit shoving.
varmint. Dive!
Okay, but you gotta close your eyes while I put on my bathing suit.
Oh, all right. But make it snappy.
Ready?
Splash! By gar, the critter went and done it.
This I gotta see.
He made a very good adversary against bugs rather than Elmer Fudd, because I felt Elmer Fudd was so weak-brained that, you didn't have to be very smart to outsmart him.
Yeah.
But Sam, although he wasn't very smart, he was very aggressive and a real loudmouth bully.
One move, and you get it right to the enchilada.
Come back, brother! Yes, you're right, Fiend, come back!
Coward, come back and fight! What you say?
Nothing, Senor Pancho.
We'll keep saying nothing. Yahoo! Yip, 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 yahoo!
You mentioned Mel Blanc. There's a picture of him here on the wall with some of the characters' voices that he created. He had a remarkable career, so over 50 years doing those voices.
Yes, he did.
I understand you were present at his very first audition.
Yes, he did Porky Pig for me. I decided I wanted a voice that was different than the falsetto voices everybody was using, like Mickey Mouse. And at that time,
they always showed me the picture first and asked me to create a voice for it. Of course, they told me what the story was going to be, and then I would have to create a voice for it. I said if a pig would talk, he'd talk with a grunt. A pig says oink, 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 oink. That's why Porky got his voice.
Hey, if there's one thing I don't need around here, it's a terrier, a Doberman, a dog. Oh, Mickey, Donald had a... Hey, what do you say we have some ham and eggs?
we used to use different actors for different voices. And then Mr. Warner, Jack Warner, says, that's costing too much. Get one man to do all the voices, So we chose Mel out of all the people because we had to cut down. We couldn't hire actors. And so we hired Mel, and we paid him $300 a week to do all the voices.
Then they showed me a picture of a big sloppy cat and a little baby bird. And so I went accordingly. I created the voice for little Tweety as a little baby. Oh, I thought a pretty cat. And Sylvester was sloppy, so I made him sloppy. Suffering succotash. You bet he's slop, putty tat. That putty tatted me.
You created Sylvester the cat as well, of course.
Oh, yes. I designed this alley cat to look more like a clown. And I put a big red nose on him, and I had baggy pants. His crotch was way down to his feet to look like baggy pants, but it gradually disappeared because it inhibited the animation.
We're going to have a look at one that you created called Mouse Mazurka.
Oh,
Can you remember that? It was set in
I remember
Upper Slobovia or somewhere in a little snow-covered chalet.
Yeah.
And this little mouse dressed in peasant costume. And he had these long peasant sleeves like that. And a little sort of waistcoat.
Yeah.
And
naked from there on down. Huh?
That's it. And he's got his little tiny feet there. Yeah. And the cat has got a beautiful face here, drawn on the back of his hand.
Oh, yeah.
With lipstick like that. And two little boots which were on Sylvester's claws there like that. And there behind there's Sylvester's hand and his arm all black going back to this box where he's hiding. And it was really delightful cartoon. It's called
glad you like it.
Mouse Mazurka. This marvellous man created it.
Such a happy, carefree life this little fellow is having.
Did you make them for children?
No, we made them for adults ourselves, really. And of course, they ended up with television for children, but we didn't design them that way.
Well,
For comedy needs an audience.
The laughter is
Yeah.
infectious. The build.
And now they're getting back into the theater, and we can see that happen again, you know, in the same spots that I planned 40 or 45 years ago for a laugh. There's these new generations reacting exactly the same.
That's lovely, isn't it? Lovely.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Don't sneeze, you stupid dragon, or you'll blow us to the moon! Dragons is so stupid!
Adios! Rabbits always get a carrot break.
A lot of these places, they look as if nobody ever lived in them at all. They look as if they're just facades, like a front for a film set. But we're looking for the house where Mel Blanc recorded so many of the voices for the later Warner Brothers cartoons. It's got a big Edsel, a big blue car in the the very place.
This is the very studio. My father used to record the Bugs and Daffy and Porky, and he did all the Warner Brothers characters right here.
Well, as you know, sadly, Mel Blanc is no longer with us, but we have his son, Noel, who has obviously inherited some of the vocal characteristics. Can you tell us a little bit about your dad? I understand he was a very well-loved character in the industry.
Well, he was loved by not only children and their parents and their grandparents, but there are tributes all over the house from presidents and kings and queens and statesmen and you name it, fellow actors. Just wonderful. By the way, do you read music?
I do. Yeah.
You do? Well, I've got a little book here. You want to take a look at me? Follow me. Come on out here. It's getting a little hot in here.
Yes. Oh, I know this from my childhood. I remember this. I don't even need to read. Oh, the merry-go-round broke down as we went round and round.
Okay, now speed it up a little bit.
What, with words?
No, try it without words.
What
is it?
It's the Looney Tunes theme.
That's it.
See, I knew both the tunes, but I never realized that was the theme for the
Warner
Looney
Brothers
Tunes.
Theme song.
You know, Bugs used to sing it all the time, too.
So tell me about your dad.
Well, I used to drive my dad nuts when I was a little kid because I wanted him to do all the voices all the time. So I'd grab a comic book and I'd say, okay, Dad, Saturday morning, let's hear the cartoons. And he'd start, you know.
You looking for a rabbit?
And you know, and suffering succotash. He'd do millions of things.
He can tell you real good stories, can't you? Say yes.
Yeah, 1001 Tales for Toddlers. You expect me to tell stories to Dad? I'd rather throw peanuts at it.
Watch it, Rabbit. You're talking to Crown Prince Abba-Dabba, my only son.
You done told him one story. Now you only got 1,000 more tales to tell. So get it going before you lose your tail.
For Warner Brothers alone, my dad must have done over 1,500 cartoons, 1,500 shorts.
That is staggering, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it's amazing.
And yet he wouldn't be like the big Hollywood stars, recognizable to every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the street.
No, in fact, for years, nobody knew who he was. He did a commercial finally in about 1970, 73, and then people put the face to the voice. But he could walk anywhere he wanted to, and I remember one time a policeman stopped him because he had made a left turn too quickly. And he pulled him over and he says, I'm going to give you a ticket. And my dad said,
Really, Doc, I wouldn't like a ticket, you know. Please, Bugs doesn't want a ticket in front of all these people. And he says, you're Bugs Bunny.
And
That's right, Doc.
and he then the policeman made him go through all the voices and sign things for his kids
Sign
and everything.
affidavits,
And he says,
sign
"Okay, I'm going to let you off with a warning."
He showed me a picture of a little rabbit. He said, "He's a tough little stinker, and we need a tough voice for him." So I said, "Why not?" So I figured, which is the funniest, which is the toughest, the Brooklyn or the Bronx? So I put the two of them together.
And that's how Bugs Bunny came out, Doc.
He was a little stinker, and still is, I guess.
Yes? Oh, no you don't. Not again. Sorry. This time we'll try it from the other end. Look, you're a hunter, right?
Right.
And this is rabbit season, right?
Right.
And if he was a rabbit, what would you do? Yeah, you're so smart. If I was a rabbit, what would you do?
Well, I'd...
Not again.
And Speedy Gonzales was a little tiny Mexican mouse.
So I made him a little mouse, talk very fast too, talk so fast you could understand what he's saying. Tink.
No use hiding, you little cheese thief. Come on, speak up. Cat got your tongue? That isn't all I'll get.
What's the matter, pussycat? You fall down? You better be more careful. You might hurt yourself. If you can hear me, signal with your foot.
I've just got to find a way to catch that mouse, or I'll lose confidence in myself as a pussycat. I must find a way. I must.
And when he did stuff from, you know, Daffy and Sylvester, am I getting you wet?
Yes. I don't mind.
When he did those characters, the scripts used to come out just soaking wet. So by the end of the day, the scripts used to just fold over and you'd have to hold them like this. But when he was doing all these characters, one after the other, you could see the genius that he had in
just jump from one voice to the other?
Jump from one voice to the other and know and be each one of these characters.
Shut up!
He met a sheriff in Biloxi, Mississippi. It spoke like this: "Pay attention, Mel, I'm talking to you. Now hey, don't look over, you know, it was that kind of voice. Pay attention, I'm talking to you." And my dad loved this sheriff. And when he started to see this big foghorn leghorn chicken...
Now, I say cut that out. What's it all about, boy? Elucidate.
I'm a chicken hawk, and you're my victim. Are you gonna come quiet, or do I have to muss you up?
Chicken hawk? You're going at it all wrong, son. You're starting too big. You gotta walk before you can run. Start small and look at me when I'm talking to you, son. I say start small and work up. Now try again, boy. Kids nowadays know it all.
Every day, kids would come to his house, knock on the door, and he would audition for up to 30 kids a day. And I'm not kidding. That many would come every day. On Halloween, 1,000. Will you do Bugs Bunny? Will you do Tweety? And the kids came every day of his life. It was amazing.
Of course, life and Warner Brothers have to go on, even when the great masters like Mel have passed away. And the new wave of young animators for Warner Brothers Animation have just come up with the very first Bugs Bunny short for 26 years. It actually starts off a lot like the history of this part of the world, which was all desert at one time. What happens at the beginning of this huge cinema complex is built right over the home of a certain well-known rabbit.
I was born in Brooklyn. I dropped out of school in Brooklyn. I gotta be ready to die for Brooklyn.
Benny, I love you.
Meow. What's up, Doc?
Excuse me, but you have to be quiet or... Hey! I didn't see you come in. If you haven't got a ticket, I must ask you to leave.
ask me to weave. What about you? Where's your ticket, Mac?
Me? I don't have a ticket.
No ticket?
It must be here someplace.
No ticket, eh? Well, you've got one now. You know how fast you were coming down that aisle?
No, officer.
Real fast. And weaving. And you've only got one headlight.
There it is, part of the storyboard for the first Bugs Bunny short in 26 years. And here's the man who was the director of animation on that box office Bugs, Darryl Van Citters. What's it like following in the footsteps of Chuck Jones and Friz Freleng?
It's both exciting and intimidating. It's exciting that you're taking these great characters and able to put your own stamp on them, but at the same time you have that inevitable comparison to these masters of the Warner Brothers characters.
Somewhat scary, I would
think. Yes, it is.
Did you grow up admiring their work?
Yeah.
Did you know anything about the guys behind the Bugs Bunny cartoons?
Not early on, although if you watch enough of them, you start to associate certain directors' names with the films that you like better, and it just naturally follows from there. One day when I was watching Chuck Jones's Rabbit of Seville, I thought, you know, there's something to this. You know, this could be a lot of fun.
How do? Welcome to my shop. Let me cut your mop. Let me shave your crop. Daintily, daintily. Hey, don't look so perplexed. Why must you be vexed? Can't you see you're next? Yes, you're next. You're so next.
How did you go about recreating the characters so truthfully?
We would take videotapes of the older cartoons, and we would pull what we call pull frames from them, little Polaroids, as it were, to study the way the characters were drawn, and then we would practice drawing based on how they did it, so that we could recapture the flavor and expressions of what they did.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah. We enjoy creating our own expressions once we figured out how to draw those characters.
Yeah.
Those characters are not easy to draw either.
Isn't animation fun?
Oh, it's wonderful, wonderful. When I was working at Warner Brothers, when I started, I hated to miss a day because I knew that I was going to miss some fun. So, yeah, Daffy is my favorite. He's real. He shows his anger when he's angry. He's not phony.
He's a bit too casual, is he, this one?
Yes, but I still like him. He's family. You know, to me, they're like relatives. So.
Can I introduce this lovely lady, Dora Yakutis, and she is the scene planner for Warner Brothers Animation now.
Right.
Did you see different personalities in the characters?
Oh, yes. One day I was watching one of the old cartoons here, and I saw this bullfighter, and who was it but one of the old editors there? Say that Yosemite Sam was patterned after Friz Freleng. He'll kill me for saying this.
Did he have a fiery temper, Friz?
That's what they say. I never saw him angry, but they say that he did. He's very feisty. See? That's what I mean.
Who is that?
He's one of the artists here. See, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
This is Question Man, is it?
This is wonderful. See?
Was it good fun working with Friz Freleng?
Oh, it was the best. He is just a really talented man and really a lot of fun to work with.
You worked with Chuck too, of course.
Yes, yes. Chuck, ditto goes for Chuck. No, they're both such incredible talents, and they had been working together for 50-some odd years, and they. I mean, here they were grown, to me at the time, looking like very grown men, and...
What age were you then?
I was 21.
Oof.
They were, you know, playing practical jokes on each other, and, I mean, you never knew what was going to happen next.
Like big kids.
Yeah.
They're very different, aren't they?
They sure are. Actually, as directors, Friz is very physical, and, you know, he does a lot of his timings to music. He's got a real musical sense in terms of how he directs, and Chuck is very eloquent and very wordy and does a lot of word play and word gags. So you have very different styles.
to give myself up on account of I cannot fight no more against such genius.
A wise decision, my friend. You have just saved yourself from a fate worse than the frying pan.
I have only one last request. I have made out my last will and testament, but I need a witness to make it official. Would you sign it with his fountain pen?
Certainly, my boy. Delighted to be of service. Very amateurish attempt on my person. Being a genius certainly has its advantages.
It's amazing to see the man actually drawing the character that we've all seen so many times on the screen. It's a great pleasure to meet you, Chuck Jones. Can I introduce you to our viewers, our audience? When you invented Wile E. Coyote, was the invention a long process?
Well, what happened was that when I was like 6 years old, I learned to read very early. Because it's hard for anybody like you guys to believe there was a time when there wasn't any TV. Indeed, there wasn't any radio, but in those days we didn't have it.
So, the same,
yeah, the same thing, yeah. So everybody read a great deal, and they talked to each other a lot, like you and I are doing, and me and you. And so we did a lot of reading, and the one time I ran across in a book by Mark Twain called Roughing It. That's the name of it. If you can find it, you'd enjoy it a lot, because there's a whole article in there on the coyote, and I read it then because I didn't know I was going to be an animated cartoonist. All I knew was that it was very, very funny. And he said how unappetizing a coyote was, that a flea wouldn't stay on a coyote. If a bicycle came along, he'd get on the bicycle. It had more to eat on it. Then I ran across this guy. There is a little bird called the Roadrunner, and he's actually a living bird. And very, to me, seemed funny. We have them all around in Southern California, indeed right here where we live, down by the ocean. There are coyotes and roadrunners, but quite a lot of roadrunners. Roadrunner never hurts the coyote in any way. A coyote is only victimized by his own naive faith in the Acme Corporation. You know. The reason I did Pepé Le Pew, I think, although I wasn't very deeply emotionally involved with that time, in the sense of figuring out what the hell I was doing, was that but when I was at school, I grew up very fast. I got to be 6'1", but I didn't fill out very well. So I weighed 130 pounds. I was 6'1", which meant that you could see me this way, but you couldn't see me this way. No girls ever even looked at me because they could wave their arm, and they were waving to somebody beyond me because they couldn't see me. Well, when I started animating, and started directing, actually, I guess sort of back in my own remembrance of that sort of thing was I'd like to be a character that was irresistible, or at least thought he was, because Pepé doesn't believe that there's anybody more attractive than he is in the whole world.
Quelle Ah, the petite femme skunk. The rendezvous, no? Ah, my darling, how beautiful you are. How lonesome it has been that I have without you. Ah, the sweet nothings. Ah, the sweet somethings. Ah, the tender enrapturements.
We always said that Bugs Bunny was an unusual rabbit, because most rabbits have several hundred children, and Bugs had 4 fathers. Tex Avery and Friz Freleng and I, and Bob Clampett contributed something, and Bob McKimson, but basically there were 3. I mean, that would be Tex Avery and Friz and me. This is the very, very earliest, and I used that character, and then Thorson and Bugs Hardaway came up with this one. And then Tex Avery really brought the character into its basic life. And then over the period of the next 4 or 5 years, or 6 years even, he went from this to this to this. The legs getting longer, the action being more elegant.
What's up, Dad? Ow! Put me down, you baggy-eyed devil. If you eat me, what do you got? One skinny rabbit, that's all. Look, no meat. Now look, pal, if you and me work together, I can fix you up with a menagerie. You will? That's right, Doc.
I've never finished a picture without being consumed by doubt that I could do another. So each time in between, you've got to suffer, and then you start drawing. During the time you're drawing, you're at one with the gods, because you have during that particular time. It's a wonderful thing, but in between you've got to do a lot of worrying. But the main thing is, I tell students today, I say the big problem is with you guys, you're drawing, but you can't become president of drawing. You know, you can't become president. You cannot compete your way to the top. You're not competing. In drawing, you just don't compete. You're competing only with yourself as to whether you can do what's needed to be done to bring this character to life. Life. That's what animation says, to invoke life. What a wonderful statement. That's out of the dictionary. That's not of anybody else. That's what old Noah Webster says.
We're just coming back from seeing Chuck Jones in his house where he lives in semi-retirement out near the ocean. And we've spoken of Friz Freleng, those two magical men, the last of that team of animators that created so much classic animation from the 30s onwards. And we're heading now to Sherman Oaks, where some of the new wave of young animators are trying to recreate animation of that quality. Owes a lot, obviously, to the Tasmanian Devil. Let me introduce you to Gene McCurdy, who is Vice President and General Manager of Warner Brothers Animation.
That is correct.
That's a big title.
Yes, it is.
But you're not as formal as that, are you?
No, I don't think so. You can't be around these guys.
Tell me how they started.
They are certainly inspired by the old, and we have built off of the wonderful legacy that has been given us with the classic characters and the classic cartoons. But these are a new group of characters. Probably the best way to describe the relationship is one of the settings within the series itself, where our characters go to school, is Acme Looniversity. And at Acme Lou, the professors are Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Elmer Fudd. And
what sort of things would they be lecturing?
They lecture on cartoon physics, how to walk in air without falling, and you only fall if you look down. If you keep looking straight ahead, you're okay. Anvil dropping, safe dropping, all the Acme tricks, and you'll see Wile E. Coyote there trying to tutor his young students and everybody.
This is the big one we've all been waiting for. It's the Junior Baseball Championship between our very own Acme University.
Can we switch up for a minute, Tom? Sure. Let me introduce Tom Ruger, who is the producer of Tiny Toons, and this is, I understand, this is practically the first time that any children have ever seen these.
That's right. This is a sneak preview for Rolf's friends here, and we're looking at one of our shows featuring Buster and Babs and the crew, and this is a baseball story, so we think our American audience will love it. We're hoping it works overseas as well.
And there's the windup. What a windup it is, folks! Such power, such artistry, such nausea.
What do you think of it, kids?
It's great. It's better than the old cartoons.
Are you serious?
Well, that's exactly what we want to hear.
We're tiny, we're toony, we're all a little loony. And in this cartoony, we're invading your TV. With comic dispatchers, we crack up all the censors. On Tiny Toon Adventures, get a dose of comedy. So here's Acme Acres, it's a whole wide world apart. Our home sweet home stands alone, a cartoon work of art.
The scripts were rejected, expect the unexpected.
On Tiny Toon Adventures, it's about to start.
They're furry, they're funny.
They're Babs and Buster Bunny. Montana Max has money. Elmira is a pain. He's hunting and plucky. Dizzy Devil yucky. Furballs unlucky. And Go-Go is insane. At Acme University, we earn our
green. The 2-6 has been getting late.